some of the arguments just aren't factual. It's an indicator that you're just trying to sound smarter than you actually are.
Like a credit card, you can just keep on kicking the payment down the road, but eventually, and it's going to hit the table severely once Brock Purdy is a $50 to $65 million man. And look, he could be around 50 with an average year this year. If he wins the Super Bowl, I think he's in that neighborhood of 60 for sure, given the number we just saw for Dak. That's going to be the biggest moment in time in the fork in the road for this franchise that people are going to gripe and complain about. Yet at the same time, I think most people out there griped and complained that nothing really matters until you have the right head coach and the right quarterback. And I think they got that now. I really do. I think you do too.
Yeah, I mean, Purdy's obviously elite. I don't see how anybody can look at the body of work from the past season and a half, especially from last year when he was head and shoulders above every other quarterback efficiency-wise. And then you watch the tape and it tells you the same thing. So I don't understand the Brock Purdy detractors. Even, some of the arguments just aren't factual, right? They're like, oh, Brock Purdy can't extend plays. Well, I mean, he extended plays better than all but 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the league last year. Yeah, I mean, he's got that amazing burst.
He's got a rag arm. Oh, but he also led the league in downfield passing accuracy and yards per attempt.
So we had never seen a quarterback hit 60% of their passes on throws of 20 or more air yards downfield until Brock Purdy did it last year. So he can't throw outside the numbers. Anytime I hear somebody say that, I automatically think that they don't even know what that term means. They're just I call it fake smart, Damon, fake smart. The outside the numbers line, it's an indicator that you're just trying to sound smarter than you actually are about football at this point.
Right. You got a piece of jargon. You're going to use it to sound like you belong in the meeting. But the truth is you don't even know what you're looking at.
Exactly. And he is throwing outside the numbers if we want to get technical. And on top of that, the most efficient place of the football field over the past several years, ever since these Shanahan offenses have really taken over, and that starts with the 49ers, is the middle of the field. Why? Because the middle of the field, you take away 2 extra defenders named the sidelines. The sideline can make a tackle. If a guy steps out of bounds, the play is over. So the 49ers and other teams like the Kansas City Chiefs have said, wait, we want to facilitate as much yards after the catch as possible because we want to make these offenses as explosive as possible. How do you maximize yards after the catch? Well, you get receivers out into space where defenders are on islands. The defender is never going to be on an island near the sideline because the sideline is there to help him. So attacking the middle of the field is actually tremendously efficient. The numbers bear this out. And it's hard to attack the middle of the field because defenses are defending it now. They realize that, oh boy, we better concentrate more defenders into the middle of the field because we don't have the help that the sidelines give us. So the fact that Brock Purdy is the most efficient quarterback on record, throwing between 10 and 20 yards in between the numbers over the middle of the field. This goes back 25 years or so. PFF has been tracking it. He's about 11 or 12 yards per attempt. The fact that Purdy is at that level of efficiency for what the 49ers are trying to do and what defenses are trying to stop, that's something that the detractors need to talk about. They won't, but they need to talk about that because it means that he's a perfect extension of what Shanahan wants. At the end of the day, a quarterback is only going to be as good as the bond that he has with his play caller, and a play caller is only going to be as good as the bond that he has with his quarterback. That's why we talk about Montana and Walsh, right? That was the great bond of the 1980s. And that's why Shanahan has needed his Brock Purdy, somebody to perfectly execute what he's calling for, and that is attacking the middle of the field.
Without picking this scab, and I don't want to go down this road any more than you do, but ultimately, why do you think it didn't click and the light went on for a guy like Trey Lance? You know, when you got the great quarterback whisperer that is Kyle Shanahan, why didn't it work for him and why did it work for Brock? Because I agree with you. Kyle was looking for his raw ball of clay to mold into an extension of him on the field. He got it in Purdy. He didn't even come close with Trey Lance.
Well, he thought that he could have that in Trey Lance because Lance was so raw in college. They didn't have a lot to work with, but they thought that there was enough moldable clay there to create something that would fit perfectly with Kyle Shanahan. Obviously, that's not what happened. But, you know, this whole thing, Shanahan is a quarterback whisperer. Shanahan has had only two plus efficiency quarterbacks over his time with the 49ers. And the 2+ efficiency QBs are Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo. Other than that, it's not like they turned Nick Mullins. Everybody says, okay, I saw the game against the Raiders for Nick Mullins. They won 34-3. They think that Nick Mullins was some kind of great quarterback under Kyle Shanahan. He actually ranked near the very bottom of the league efficiency-wise. So did Brian Hoyer. So did CJ Beathard. Those guys didn't work out early on. It wasn't until Garoppolo came in 2017 that the 49ers finally had a competent quarterback, but he couldn't stay healthy. Then Purdy came and he took the level that Garoppolo showed when he was healthy, which was finally an efficient level that the 49ers could win with, and he raised that even higher. So it's not easy to just step into a Shanahan system and deliver at quarterback. And I think that's a huge misconception that Shanahan is able to turn anybody into a good quarterback. You've got to have serious skill at that position. But then on top of that, to be a guy that Shanahan will happily invest in, obviously think that Brock Purdy falls into that category. You've got to be able to execute the system as an extension of the coach. And I think that's where some of the lack of seeing eye to eye with Jimmy Garoppolo ultimately came in. The injuries, I think, played the biggest part in all that. But I think that Purdy much more religiously is able to execute what Shanahan wants out of the scheme than anybody else that Kyle Shanahan has ever worked with. And I think that includes Kirk Cousins at this point.
Thanks for watching. Tune into the Damon Bruce Show live on YouTube every weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific.